I need you to just stop whatever you're doing right this second. Like,
Hmm.
put down the laundry, pull the car over, sit down, and just imagine this exact scenario with me.
Oh boy. Here we go.
No, seriously. Imagine being the most universally desired, highest paid male model in the entire world.
Yeah.
Like, you're spending your days jet-setting across the globe on the Concorde.
Right. Just casual 1980s glamour.
Exactly. You are doing these massive million-dollar campaigns for Versace, Valentino, Ralph Lauren. You are hanging out with Cindy Crawford and Fabio on the regular.
The absolute peak of human beauty and success.
You are the apex. And then at the end of the day, you go back to a New York apartment to sleep on a literal floor mat.
A literal mat on a hardwood floor.
A floor mat. And you are doing this for a middle-aged, deeply bronzed socialite who genuinely, with his whole chest, believes he is an extraterrestrial from the star Arcturus. We are starting our midweek spiral early, babes, because my brain is entirely broken by this.
It is the absolute dictionary definition of cognitive dissonance. I mean, it is a level of absurdity that honestly feels like a fever dream or a satirical screenplay.
It really does.
You look at the archival footage and you think this cannot possibly be real life. People do not hand over their multi-million-dollar modeling checks to a guy in a pink button-down who claims a UFO is coming to pick them up.
They just don't. But they did.
They did, because human psychology is a very dark, very predictable machine once you know which levers to pull. So here we are.
Babes, welcome back. We are here and so glad to have you here with us on the Snark side. And I just have to be completely honest with the Snark squad right off the bat, just to set the mood for today's recording.
Full transparency.
Full transparency. The Monster energy drinks are heavily on deck right now. It's aggressively late. The moon is high. But babes, we are completely strapped in and committed.
We are so committed that we are actively making terrible physiological choices as healthcare professionals.
So terrible.
Because let's be real. Drinking a massive silver can of pure, unadulterated synthetic caffeine, taurine, and B vitamins at this hour is essentially, it's declaring chemical warfare on our own central nervous systems.
It is chemical warfare, and I am welcoming it with open arms.
We know exactly what this is doing to our adenosine receptors right now. It's just aggressively blocking our brain's ability to tell us we are exhausted.
But there is something about that first crack of a Monster energy drink. Specifically, the White Zero Ultra one, obviously, because we have a refined palate.
Obviously, the elite flavor.
Right, where it hits your bloodstream and you suddenly feel like you could, fight a mythological creature.
You feel completely unstoppable.
I really do. I could sit here and record this show. I could reorganize my entire garage by emotional resonance. I could solve a decades-old cold case using only Google Maps.
It's pure liquid delusion, but it feels incredible.
It's the best.
It's absolutely delusion, though. You hit this point of critical mass where you have to seriously debate, am I actually being highly productive and articulate right now, or am I just physically vibrating in place?
Definitely vibrating.
Because right now, my resting heart rate is performing a very aggressive salsa routine, and my thoughts are moving at roughly the speed of light, but if you ask me to perform a simple math equation, like calculating the tip on a dinner bill.
Oh, absolutely not. No math.
I would stare at you blankly. It's not focused attention, bestie. It is just chaotic kinetic energy looking for a target.
I am vibrating on a cellular level, and I am choosing to channel all of that kinetic energy directly into today's topic, which, by the way, we would not even have without our incredible community.
We love them so much.
We have to give a massive, heartfelt shout-out to Snarker Matt for sliding into the DMs to recommend this exact documentary. Matt, you are a legend.
Snarker Matt doing the universe's work, or, the aliens' work, depending on how deep into this Arcturus mythology we get today.
Exactly. Babes, you already know the drill. Ask and you shall receive. So, babes, we are here. And honestly, Matt, thank you. Because we have a shared, deep-seated, frankly concerning obsession with cult documentaries.
It's a sickness.
It really is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the core belief is, like yoga, raw veganism, multi-level marketing, or UFOs. If there's a documentary about a charismatic leader isolating people in a compound, I am seated and I am taking notes.
It's a fascinating genre. And what's interesting to me from a purely analytical standpoint is the psychology behind how cults even take root in the first place.
Right, the mechanics of it.
Exactly. You always hear people say, oh, I would never fall for that. I'm too smart. I'm too independent.
Everyone thinks they're the exception.
But the reality is genuinely brilliant, highly educated, successful people get pulled into these groups constantly. Cult leaders do not target the weak. They target the seeking.
Ooh, the seeking. That's a good way to put it.
They target people who are looking for community or purpose or answers to existential questions. And they systematically weaponize those very normal, very human desires against them.
It's so insidious.
It is a slow, methodical dismantling of a person's critical thinking. It's
Yeah.
not a switch that flips, you know? It's a slow fade.
Yes. A slow fade is the perfect way to put it. And that is exactly why every single time we watch one of these documentaries, I'm standing in my living room, clutching a throw pillow,
Yeah.
literally screaming at my television screen.
Just yelling at the TV.
I am yelling. I'm like, run. The man in the pastel shirt is lying to you. Do not give him power of attorney. Keep your bank account.
It is so deeply frustrating to watch because we have the benefit of hindsight.
We see the red flags waving violently in the wind, but when you're in it, it's just the water slowly coming to a boil.
Exactly.
But okay, it did get me thinking. Since we are both dentists, right?
Yeah.
We live in this very clinical, scientific, evidence-based world.
Mostly, yeah.
Do we think somewhere out there in the ether, there is a secret dental cult operating right now?
Oh, without a single doubt in my mind.
Wait, really? You think so?
Absolutely. I mean, if there are high control groups based on essential oils and magical healing crystals, there is absolutely a secret dental cult operating in the shadows of a continuing education seminar right now.
Oh my God, yes.
It probably started at a dental convention in Orlando and just like spiraled completely out of control.
I need to know the lore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would the doctrines even be? What is the foundational theology of a high-control dental group?
Well, clearly flossing would be the singular path to salvation.
Obviously. Floss or burn.
The core doctrine would be that if you don't floss, your soul decays at the exact same rate as your interproximal spaces.
Ew. For the Snark Squad, interproximal spaces are just those little hidden gaps between your teeth where plaque loves to hide and cause absolute destruction.
Right. And the leader would stand at a podium preaching a gospel of perfectly smooth margins and zero bleeding when we poke your gums.
It's giving very sterile doomsday.
They would probably be deeply involved in anti-cavity doomsday prepping, just stockpiling industrial-sized vats of fluoride varnish in an underground bunker in Idaho.
Just waiting for the great sugar apocalypse to wipe out the non-believers.
Exactly.
Stop. I can see the visual aesthetics so clearly. The ceremonial robes would just be those heavy lead aprons from the panoramic X-ray machine.
Oh my gosh, yes. Heavy and protective.
Just a dozen people standing in a circle wearing lead aprons, chanting about enamel remineralization. But here is the real pressing question, Bestie. Which one of us is accidentally becoming the cult leader in this scenario?
I think we both know the answer to that.
Because I'm just going to lay my cards on the table right now. I would accidentally start a cult through sheer unbridled enthusiasm.
It absolutely would.
I wouldn't even mean to. I would just be getting so incredibly hyped about the benefits of a water flosser that suddenly people are handing me the deeds to their houses and asking me to bless their electric toothbrushes.
Your charisma is entirely too dangerous to be left unchecked.
Thank you, I think.
You'd be up there on a stage, bathed in the divine glue light of a composite curing lamp, preaching about the structural integrity of a porcelain crown, and people would just blindly follow you into the woods to build a commune.
The divine blue light, I love that.
But let's be incredibly clear about my role in this hypothetical scenario. I would be the one getting us both excommunicated by day 3.
Oh, completely. You would ruin the entire vibe. What would be your final straw?
I would start questioning the holistic toothpaste. That's always how it starts.
Always.
The leader would bring out some sacred, charcoal-infused, essential oil-based paste that's supposed to align our chakras and draw out toxins.
And you just ruin it with science.
I'd be in the back row, raising my hand, aggressively asking for the peer-reviewed, double-blind clinical trials demonstrating its efficacy.
You'd be like, source, please.
I'd be like, excuse me, Your Eminence, but activated charcoal is actually highly abrasive. It acts like microscopic sandpaper on the teeth.
Stripping away the enamel.
Exactly, and it completely lacks the necessary fluoride ions to actually protect the tooth structure.
Right.
I would be labeled a suppressive person and thrown out before lunch.
You would be banished. They'd be pointing at you like, silence the non-believer. Throw her in the pit of calculus.
The absolute worst punishment.
Which, again, for everyone listening, calculus in dentistry isn't math. It's that rock-hard tartar buildup that we have to scrape off your teeth.
Disgusting.
Oh my goodness. Before we get completely derailed writing the manifesto for our fictional dental cult, I have to tell the Snark Squad about our dinner tonight. Because it is directly related to my emotional stability.
It was a very necessary meal.
Before recording, babes, We had prawn ravioli with a roasted squash puree, and it was literally elite. It fundamentally altered my brain chemistry.
It was a transcendent culinary experience.
Totally.
There is something about perfectly executed warm pasta that just bypasses all rational, critical thought and goes straight to the soul to heal whatever is broken inside of you.
We seriously need to talk about why pasta fixes emotional damage. Because it really does.
It's the ultimate human comfort food.
You could have the most catastrophic day, like your alarm didn't go off, your boss sent you a passive-aggressive email, your car got a flat tire in the rain, Mercury is in severe retrograde.
Just everything going wrong.
But then you eat a bowl of warm, carby, buttery pasta, and suddenly the universe feels manageable again. It's like receiving a warm, maternal hug from the inside out.
Well, I mean, it's actually grounded in biochemistry.
Really. Science validates my pasta obsession.
Oh, yeah. When you consume complex carbohydrates like that, you're facilitating the production of serotonin in the brain. It's a literal, measurable chemical hit of happiness.
I love that for us.
But emotionally,
Oh,
it's a psychological return to safety. It's the culinary equivalent of putting a heavy-weighted blanket over your entire nervous system and telling it to stand down.
which, frankly, we both desperately needed tonight. Because let's talk about the impending trauma of our clinical schedules tomorrow.
Do we have to?
We have to. We have to spiral about it. Looking at tomorrow's schedule is a form of self-harm.
It is. The highs and lows of the dental clinic are so wildly extreme.
Tomorrow, I am already emotionally barricading myself from my 10 a.m. patient.
Oh, no. Which one is it?
Now, I love this patient. I really do. They have a great heart. But they are an agent of pure chaos.
The talker.
The talker. They are the specific kind of patient who will decide that the absolute best time to tell me a sprawling, wildly complicated, multi-character story about their neighbor's dog's custody battle.
While you're working.
Yes, is when I have a high-speed drill rotating at 400,000 RPMs, a suction tube, and a mirror shoved into the back of their mouth.
It's terrifying.
And I'm just standing there frozen, trying to decipher these aggressive, muffled vowel sounds, praying to whatever higher power exists that they don't suddenly jerk their head to make eye contact and deliver a punchline while I'm millimeters away from their soft tissue.
The mid-procedure conversationalists are a unique breed of terrifying. It's an extreme sport.
It really is.
It's like, sir, I am begging you. I have a microscopic sharp instrument hovering right next to your lingual nerve, which controls the sensation to half of your tongue.
Like, do not move.
Now is deeply, fundamentally not the time to recount the plot of the movie you watched last night. Just blink once for yes and twice for no.
Exactly. Just blink.
Yeah.
What's your low for tomorrow?
Well, my low for tomorrow, I am dealing with a massive reconstructive headache. A botched veneer case.
Oh, no.
And to be clear, not my work.
Thank goodness.
This is a new patient who decided to go overseas for what they market as, quote, discount luxury dentistry.
Oh, I know where this is going.
And they came back with what can only be described as a row of aggressive, blindingly white, opaque chiclets permanently bonded to their face.
Oh, no. Not the turkey teeth.
The turkey teeth.
The discount cosmetic tourism epidemic is so real right now. It's so sad.
It is a full-blown public health crisis at this point. People are flying out, getting their healthy teeth filed down to little nubs, and having these massive, ill-fitting crowns slapped on.
Just destroying their natural enamel.
And now, tomorrow afternoon, I have to sit in my chair, look this person in the eye, and figure out how to gently, empathetically explain that their bargain smile makeover is structurally compromised.
That is the worst conversation to have.
I have to explain that the margins are open, meaning bacteria is just freely entering the tooth, causing massive gingival inflammation. Their gums are basically screaming for help.
Ugh, the bleeding.
And that it is going to cost them 3 times as much to fix this disaster as it did to fly out and ruin them in the first place.
It's awful.
It's the dental equivalent of being a detective in a true crime documentary.
Yeah.
You have to uncover the tragedy and then deliver the devastating news.
That is so heavy, and it's so awkward to have to be the bearer of that news. People want the shortcut to perfection, and it almost always ends in tears.
Always.
But speaking of wanting shortcuts and putting curated versions of ourselves out there, Love Island got us feeling very romantic this week, and apparently we have learned absolutely nothing from our past trauma.
Literally 0 lessons learned.
Because right before we hit record, Bestie, you showed me the most utterly baffling online dating message I have seen in months. And I am still trying to recover my equilibrium.
I am so glad we are unpacking this here because I genuinely needed to process it with a wider audience to make sure I wasn't hallucinating.
You are not. It was real.
I opened the app, which, for the record, I had just re-downloaded for maybe the 14th time this calendar year in a moment of sheer weakness.
You've all been there.
And sitting right there in my inbox is a message from a man named Brad. And Brad, who has chosen a profile picture of himself holding up a deeply average-sized fish on a boat,
Of course he has.
he decides that his perfect, irresistible icebreaker is this. You look like the kind of girl who could completely ruin my life, but I'd thank you for it right before I asked you to co-sign a loan for a jet ski.
I am still screaming. A loan for a jet ski.
A literal jet ski.
Let's just break down the layers of that. Brad is laying all of his massive, glaring red flags out on the lawn like a picnic blanket for you to sit on.
Just airing it all out.
He's offering immediate financial ruin, emotional manipulation, and a watercraft with terrible resale value as a flirtation tactic. He thought he cooked with that.
He really did. It was a staggering, breathtaking level of audacity.
I can't.
But what's fascinating to me from a sociological perspective is that online dating has essentially devolved into a massive, completely unregulated, twisted behavioral experiment.
Oh, 100%.
We are all just walking around the digital landscape, presenting these highly manicured, face-tuned, two-dimensional avatars of ourselves, and then we lob these bizarre, provocative words into the void, desperately hoping to spark a neurochemical connection with a stranger.
Just throwing chaos at the wall to see what sticks.
And the result of that digital barrier is that people say things they would never in a million years have the courage or the lack of social awareness to say to a human being in a coffee shop.
Never. Imagine you were standing in line at Starbucks, waiting for an iced matcha, and a man walks up to you, looks you dead in the eye, and asks you to co-sign a jet ski loan.
You would call the police.
You wouldn't laugh.
Yeah.
You would silently back away and ask the barista to call mall security. But on an app, it's just considered like quirky, self-deprecating banter. It's unhinged.
Completely unhinged.
What is the weirdest message you've ever received in the history of using these apps? Because I know you have a vault of absolute horrors.
Oh, the vault is dark and it is overflowing.
Tell me.
I think the all-time reigning champion was a guy who didn't even say hello. He just sent me a deeply detailed, multi-paragraph pseudoscientific analysis of my jawline.
Wait, what?
Yes. He concluded that, based on my craniofacial structure and the prominence of my master muscles, I would be highly suited for surviving a zombie apocalypse because I could, and I quote, bite through tough sinew.
No. Absolutely not. Shut it down. He complimented your sinew-biting capabilities.
And as a romantic overture.
He genuinely did. He thought it was this very rugged, primal, evolutionary compliment. Like he was evaluating me for a breeding program in a dystopian wasteland.
I'm gonna be sick.
I hit the unmatch button so fast and with such force I nearly sprained my thumb. Good. As you should.
But this brings up the toxic cycle we are all trapped in, doesn't it?
This cycle is so real.
We put ourselves out there, we get these baffling messages from men evaluating our bite strength, we lose all remaining faith in the human project, and we delete the apps in a fit of righteous indignation.
We do. We declare to all our friends that we are done. We're going to meet someone, quote, organically, while reaching for the same heirloom tomato at a local farmer's market.
A complete fantasy.
And then 2 weeks pass. It's a random Tuesday night. It's raining outside. We're eating leftover prawn ravioli in our sweatpants. We get a little twinge of loneliness, and our brain tricks us.
It lies to us.
We think, maybe the apps aren't that bad. Maybe I was being too judgmental. Maybe Brad with a jet ski actually has hidden emotional depths. And we go right back to the App Store and re-download them. It is a sickness, girl. It is a genuine, repetitive sickness.
It is the textbook definition of insanity. Executing the exact same behavior over and over and expecting a miraculously different result. But we keep doing it because fundamentally we are all just seeking a connection. We all want to be seen and understood.
That's all it is.
And that vulnerability, that desire to present a curated avatar and have someone accept it is exactly what predators look for. Which brings us quite perfectly into the core of today's discussion.
Oh, the transition is flawless.
Thank you. Because if we are talking about curating an image, presenting physical perfection to the world, and having that vulnerability exploited by someone who promises a deeper connection, we have to talk about the 1980s modeling industry.
Okay, babe, speaking of manipulation, influence, and questionable life choices, let's get into this documentary. We're talking about the HBO docuseries Bring Me The Beauties, a model cult.
Let's get into it.
And let me just say, we have to start by looking at the pedigree behind the camera here, because it provides crucial context for what we're about to watch. This series is directed by Chris Smith.
A legend in this specific genre.
For those who aren't familiar, this is the man who gave us Fire, which is arguably the absolute gold standard of modern scam documentaries, and Bad Vegan. So right out of the gate, this director understands the exact mechanics of unspooling a narrative built entirely on delusion, financial exploitation, and broken promises.
He is an absolute master of the slow-motion train wreck. He knows how to build the tension, and the aesthetic vibe of this documentary is so incredibly specific and deliberate.
It's stunning.
It is set primarily in New York City in the late 1970s through the 1990s, and the visual presentation captures that perfectly. It has this soft, glowing, retro VHS look to it.
So nostalgic.
The director actually went out of his way to purposefully degrade the modern interview footage to match the archival tapes, making the whole thing feel like you're watching an extended, moody Wham music video.
Oh, I love that part.
It's a brilliant directorial choice because it lulls the viewer into this glamorous, nostalgic, almost hypnotic trance. The visuals are beautiful, which makes the dark psychological abuse they're describing hit with so much more force.
It creates this intense visual friction. Like you're watching these impossibly beautiful people bathed in this beautiful, grainy, nostalgic light, but the words coming out of their mouths are describing systematic psychological warfare and financial ruin.
It's very jarring.
And at the absolute dead center of this entire tragic orbit is our main target, the protagonist of this nightmare, Hoyt Richards.
Hoyt Richards. We need to take a moment to paint a very clear, accurate picture of who this man was in his prime, because understanding his status is essential to understanding the cult's power.
He was a god.
He was the quintessential genetically blessed all-American golden boy. He is tall, he is deeply tan, he is blonde, he has a jawline that looks like it was chiseled out of marble by Michelangelo himself.
Just physically flawed.
He was a Princeton student and a star football player who, due to an injury, pivoted and transitioned into becoming literally the world's first true male supermodel. He is the blueprint for male commercial beauty in the 80s.
He is the apex predator of attractiveness. He was everywhere. But the thing we have to remember about the modeling industry, especially back then, is how incredibly isolating it is.
Highly isolating.
You are reduced entirely to your physical form. You are a prop. People are constantly judging your exterior, adjusting your clothes, lighting your face, but no one is asking about your interior life.
No one cares what you're thinking.
Exactly. And that contrast, being universally desired but feeling internally invisible, creates this massive hollow space inside a person. Which brings us to the year 1978, the meet cute from absolute hell.
The Nantucket beach encounter. Let's really unpack the sociodynamics of this meeting because it is the genesis of the entire operation. Hoyt is just 16 years old.
A child.
He is on vacation on a beach in Nantucket with his wealthy family, and he is casually approached by this man, Frederick von Mierers. Now, Frederick requires a complete psychological profile of his own.
Oh, absolutely.
He was born Fred Myers, a Jewish kid from a regular working-class background in Brooklyn. But he looked at the upper echelons of society, the old money of New York, and he completely, ruthlessly reinvented himself as this high society, aristocratic, European-sounding lifestyle guru.
The reinvention is staggering. It is pure, unadulterated Tom Ripley energy.
Very Ripley.
He saw a world he wanted access to, decided he deserved to be there, changed his name to sound like royalty, and simply acted with such unearned confidence that people just accepted it.
They didn't question it.
And his physical presentation was very calculated. He had this deeply bronzed skin, aggressively sculpted cheekbones. The documentary mentions he apparently had something like 5 facelifts by the end of his life to maintain this severe look.
Just pulled tight.
And this endless, seemingly infinite supply of crisp pink Brooks Brothers shirts.
Just a deeply tanned, middle-aged man in a pink button-down wandering the exclusive beaches of Nantucket, actively hunting for beautiful, wealthy young people. And he walks right up to a 16-year-old Hoyt Richards and initiates a conversation about esoteric Eastern philosophy, energy, and astrology. Now, I have to pause here.
Please do.
If I am 16 years old, sitting on a towel on a beach, and a middle-aged man in a pastel shirt approaches me and starts asking about my star chart and my spiritual energy, I am immediately getting up and running the other way.
Same.
I am screaming for an adult or a lifeguard. How does this initial contact actually work? How does Hoyt not just internally register stranger danger and leave the situation?
Right. Like if you come at me with astrology on a beach, I am throwing sand in your eyes.
Mm.
But I think I understand why it worked.
Mm-hmm.
I have to push back a little on the stranger danger logic here,
Yeah.
because we're looking at it through a modern, true crime-obsessed lens.
Okay, fair.
Frederick wasn't presenting as a creepy guy in a van. He was presenting as access. He was polished, he spoke elegantly, he clearly had money, and he projected this intense aura of knowing profound secrets about the universe that you didn't.
He had a very curated vibe.
When you are 16, even if you are a popular, attractive high school athlete, you are inherently insecure. You are desperately looking for an identity outside of your parents.
That's true.
Frederick walked up and essentially said, I see the real you. You are spiritually significant. Let me show you how special you are. It's an incredibly intoxicating pitch, especially from an adult who seems to hold the keys to a glamorous kingdom.
That is a very fair point. He was selling validation to teenagers who were starving for it. And the keys to the kingdom were not metaphorical, they were literal, because the timeline progresses.
It does.
Hoyt goes off to Princeton. He gets a severe shoulder injury that permanently takes him out of football, which strips away his primary identity as an athlete. And right in that moment of vulnerability, Frederick swoops in.
Like a hawk.
He invites Hoyt to New York City. And this is the late 70s, early 80s. Frederick is throwing parties at Studio 54. And Frederick's golden rule for his entourage, his absolute strict mandate for his parties, was deeply predatory. Only invite the beauties.
Only the beauty.
He explicitly and systematically targeted highly attractive, aesthetically perfect, internally insecure young people. He wanted to surround himself with a physical court of aesthetic perfection.
It's the complete weaponization of vanity. He understood the exact economy of the modeling industry. He knew these kids were making massive amounts of money based entirely on their looks, which left their internal sense of self-worth incredibly fragile.
Very fragile.
If your entire value is based on the symmetry of your face, you live in constant terror of aging or falling out of favor. So Frederick offers them an alternative, a spiritual community where they're valued for their souls.
Allegedly.
But the contrast, the reality of Hoyt's daily life, is where the cognitive dissonance reaches a pitch that I can barely comprehend.
This is the crux of the financial exploitation. It is the craziest part of the entire narrative,
Sure.
because Hoyt moves to New York and becomes a massive, unprecedented success. He is the face of global brands. He is shooting commercials. He is earning millions of dollars. And yet, at the end of a 14-hour shoot with the world's top photographers, he takes the subway back to an apartment on East 54th Street to sleep on a floor futon in Frederick's apartment.
A plush gulag, as one of the interviewees so perfectly and chillingly described it.
The plush gulag.
It was this lavishly decorated, expensive apartment filled with art and antiques, but the models themselves were essentially living in a high-control commune within it. They were sleeping side by side on thin mats on the hardwood floor.
And here's the shady reveal, the absolute gut punch of the documentary. Hoyt was making millions of dollars and handing almost all of it directly over to Frederick.
All of it.
He was entirely funding this man's lavish lifestyle. He was buying the Brooks Brothers shirts, paying for the first-class flights, funding the dinners, while Hoyt himself is living like an ascetic monk on the floor.
Make it make sense.
And the question everyone asks is, how? How do you hand over your entire Versace paycheck to a man who refuses to buy you a bed frame?
Seriously. I would be looking at my bank statement, looking at my floor mat, and calling a real estate agent immediately. But why did he do it? Bestie, break down the psychology of this for me, because my brain rejects it.
You do it because the psychological conditioning is so profound, so deeply entrenched that you no longer view the money as yours, and you no longer view the physical discomfort as a punishment or a negative thing.
Wow.
You have been trained to view it as a necessary spiritual sacrifice. It's the sunk cost fallacy applied to your entire existence. If you admit that sleeping on the floor is insane, you have to admit that giving him your money was a mistake. So you double down.
You just dig deeper.
Which leads us directly into the alien lore. Because you do not hand over millions of dollars to Fred Meyers from Brooklyn. You hand it over to a cosmic savior with knowledge of the future.
Yes. We have to talk about the Arcturian connection. Because this is where the story shifts from a manipulative rich guy to a full-blown sci-fi doomsday cult.
It takes a very sharp turn.
Frederick sat these models down and claimed that an alien entity from the star system Arcturus had literally, quote, walked into his body.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fred's human soul checked out, and this highly advanced alien soul moved in and took over the lease on his physical form.
Just a cosmic sublet.
Right. And this alien claimed he had a specific 10-year window to find other Arcturians, which conveniently were all these incredibly hot, wealthy models, to save them from a 1999 pole shift doomsday event.
The pole shift. It is the classic textbook mechanism of a doomsday cult. You have to manufacture an apocalyptic threat and attach a specific timeline to it to create artificial urgency.
Creating the panic.
If the world is ending in 1999, you don't need a retirement fund, you don't need to buy a house, you just need to follow the leader. He told them that when this global cataclysm happened, massive tidal waves would wipe out humanity, but they would be scooped up by waiting UFOs and placed into rejuvenation chambers until the Earth was safe to inhabit again.
Rejuvenation chambers. It is giving such heavy 80s sci-fi movie energy.
Very cocoon.
But what's truly wild is how he implemented this theology into their day-to-day lives to strip away their autonomy. He was forcing them to live these incredibly ascetic, restricted lives under the guise of preparing their bodies for the aliens.
If we look closely at the mechanisms here, what's fascinating is how Frederick essentially weaponized the modern wellness industry decades before it was even a cultural trend.
Oh, absolutely.
He instituted these incredibly restrictive diets. They were only allowed to eat raw fruits and vegetables. Now, biologically, let's talk about what a severe fruitarian diet does to a human being.
Let's hear the science.
You are running entirely on simple sugars. You have massive fructose spikes and crashes. You are completely lacking the necessary proteins and complex fats required to produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine.
So they were physically depleted.
Exactly. Your brain physically cannot function at optimal capacity. You live in a constant state of mild brain fog and physical exhaustion.
Wow. So he was literally starving their brains of the fuel needed to think critically. And then on top of that, he mandated regular intense tanning sessions to keep their, quote, auras glowing. And he sold them wildly overpriced healing gemstones.
The crystals.
He would tell them a specific rock would cure whatever spiritual or emotional ailment he had just diagnosed them with.
He was the original goop. He was selling them rocks to align their vibrations. But the physical control was just the baseline. The mental and emotional control is where it gets truly terrifying.
The readings.
Yes. The documentary details these mandatory 90-minute life readings. He would sit a model down in a quiet, isolated room, pull up their highly detailed astrological chart, and for an hour and a half, use cold reading techniques to totally deconstruct their identity.
It's tearing them apart.
He would pick apart every single flaw, every childhood trauma, every deep-seated fear, all under the guise of providing spiritual guidance.
It's horrifying. Imagine sitting there while an authority figure methodically lists every single thing you hate about yourself and tells you it's written in the stars. It completely breaks a person.
It's a foundational coercive control tactic used by abusers everywhere. You break the subject down completely, you shatter their self-esteem so that you are the only one who can build them back up.
You become their only source of validation.
You isolate them from their internal compass, making yourself the sole arbiter of their self-worth. And if the quiet astrology readings didn't achieve the total submission he required, he escalated to group violence, the slamming sessions.
The slamming sessions made me feel physically sick to watch.
It was brutal.
They would force one member to sit in the center of the room, and the rest of the group, their friends, their peers, would circle around them and just scream horrific insults at them, berate them for their perceived spiritual failings.
The psychological warfare.
And Frederick would escalate it to physical violence. He literally punched people in the face. He bashed their heads, and they sat there and accepted this abuse because it had been completely reframed in their minds as necessary spiritual purification.
It creates a trauma bond. The cycle of intense abuse followed by the relief of the group's eventual acceptance is called intermittent reinforcement. It creates an addiction to the abuser.
It's so dark.
And part of that purification, part of keeping them entirely focused on him, was the implementation of the celibacy rule. This is where the control transitions from financial and emotional to absolute biological control.
No romance allowed.
They had to renounce all romantic love and sex. Frederick preached that romantic attachment was an earthly distraction, the downfall of mankind, and avoiding it was the only way to elevate your frequency to get into what he called God's higher cocktail party on Earth.
God's higher cocktail party. The phrasing is so unbelievably elitist and so specific to his 1980s socialite persona. It sounds like a country club in the sky.
It really does.
But here is where we have to discuss the hypocrisy, because this is the part of the documentary that had me pacing around my living room. Bestie, we need to break down the gigolo situation, because I cannot even speak on it without spiraling into a rage.
The audacity of this specific detail is staggering, even for a cult leader.
It's beyond hypocritical.
Frederick publicly claimed to the group that he was an entirely asexual being. He told them he had transcended human desire and was fully committed to this high-vibrational alien cause.
The alien has no desires.
Right. But in reality, Frederick was a gay man with a voracious appetite, and he was secretly using the millions of dollars his followers gave him, the money Hoyt made from posing in Vogue, to hire male estimates for himself multiple times a week.
Multiple times a week. While his followers are starving on fruit, sleeping on the floor, and forbidden from even holding hands with someone.
Oh, it gets much worse than just hypocrisy. It becomes about extreme subjugation. Paul Hinton, who is essentially functioning as Frederick's right-hand man and personal assistant, tells this harrowing story on camera.
This part was wild.
Frederick would demand that Paul drive him to Times Square in the middle of the night. And Frederick would explicitly instruct Paul, who remember is a celibate, spiritually devout follower, to walk the streets and find, quote, the biggest dicks in the universe to bring back to pleasure Frederick.
I cannot believe he made him do that.
He is forcing his followers to act as his personal pimps to facilitate the exact sexual gratification that he is denying them under threat of spiritual damnation.
I was absolutely losing my mind at this part.
Yeah.
Imagine the psychological torture of that. You were starving on a diet of apples and celery.
Yeah.
You were not allowed to hug your peers with romantic intent. You were handing over every cent you earn, and your leader looks at you and says, hey, run down to the red light district and pick me up a sex worker. Put it on the cult tab.
It's sickening.
The emotional spiral I went into just imagining the humiliation, the sheer audacity of it.
It is the ultimate display of absolute power. It's not just about his sexual desires. It's a test of their compliance.
Yeah.
It's the humiliation of making his followers actively facilitate the very thing they are denied. If they will do that for him, they will do absolutely anything. They are completely broken. But history shows us that absolute power always corrupts absolutely, and eventually the facade cannot hold the weight of its own lies.
The cracks started showing.
The cracks start to form, and they crack in the most bizarre, embarrassing public ways imaginable.
The downfall of this group is a masterclass in hubris. Okay,
Right.
so at some point, they decide they need to spread the Arcturian message to the masses.
Because why keep it a secret?
Right, so they launched this bizarre public access television show in New York. You just have all these gorgeous, world-famous models sitting around a cheap set giving boilerplate, incredibly vague mindfulness advice.
It was so weird to watch.
It was giving very local news anchor taking themselves entirely too seriously energy. But then they decided public access wasn't enough. They wanted to go mainstream. They booked an appearance on the Richard Bay Show.
Now, we have to provide cultural context for anyone who didn't grow up in the 90s. The Richard Bay Show was part of that wave of daytime trash talk shows like Jerry Springer or Ricky Lake.
Very trash TV.
It was absolutely not a forum for nuanced spiritual discourse. It was a circus designed to mock its guests.
And they walked right into the trap. They looked like absolute fools on national television. They were up on stage wearing these severe outfits, talking deadpan about the star Arcturus, UFO rejuvenation chambers, and the impending pole shift, and the studio audience was literally laughing directly in their faces.
It was a brutal public humiliation.
You could see the confusion in the models' eyes as the real world rejected their reality. But the real nail in the coffin, the thing that blew the entire operation wide open, was the 1990 Vanity Fair expose.
The article was titled, "The Ford Models and the Alien from Arcturus."
Yeah.
You honestly cannot ask a magazine editor for a more compelling, sensational headline.
It's a perfect headline.
And the primary whistleblower for this piece was supermodel Jackie Adams.
Jackie is an absolute icon in this story. She was one of the top earners, but she got kicked out of the cult because she had a secret affair with Frederick's right-hand man.
She broke the rules.
She broke the golden celibacy rule. They brutally excommunicated her, and she immediately went straight to the journalists at Vanity Fair and spilled every single drop of tea.
Good for her.
She provided receipts, stories, everything. She was like, you want to banish me? I am burning the entire compound to the ground on my way out.
It was a devastating blow to the group's secrecy. But the plot twist here is what makes this story feel almost too perfectly scripted to be real.
It's insane.
Exactly 5 days before this massive, world-shattering, career-ending article hits the newsstands, Frederick von Mierers dies of complications from AIDS.
5 days. He avoids all of the fallout. He avoids the inevitable legal trouble, the fraud investigations, the public shame, the media circus. He just cleanly exits the narrative and leaves his traumatized followers to deal with the wreckage of the article.
He escaped all accountability.
But logically, you would think, okay, the charismatic leader is dead, the grift is exposed in Vanity Fair, the spell is broken, everyone packs up their floor mats and goes home to their families.
Right. You would hope so.
No, it got so much weirder.
Cults very rarely dissolve when the prophecy fails or the leader dies. Psychologically, the members are in too deep. The sunk cost fallacy is too strong.
They can't let it go.
Admitting it was a lie means admitting they wasted their youth and millions of dollars. So they doubled down. Without Frederick's charisma and social climbing to keep them anchored in New York society, the remaining members retreated to a massive property they had purchased in Lake Lure, North Carolina.
A compound.
They built a literal UFO landing pad. And the aesthetic completely pivoted from 80s glamorous socialites to paranoid 90s doomsday preppers.
The shift is jarring. They started stockpiling firearms and massive amounts of gold and silver. They still genuinely believed the 1999 pole shift was happening, and they thought paper money would be worthless, so silver bars would be the only currency the aliens would accept or something.
It's just so bizarre.
It went from sipping champagne at Studio 54 to waiting out the apocalypse at a bunker like Waco real quick. And poor Hoyt, the golden boy, is still trapped in this.
He is deeply entrenched. And the catalyst for his eventual breaking point is fascinating because it's the one specific thing Frederick always warned them against: romantic love.
The ultimate threat.
Hoyt manages to get permission to go to Los Angeles for a lucrative modeling job, and while he is away from the constant surveillance of the group, he meets and falls deeply in love with a woman named Donna.
Real human connection pierces the bubble.
Yeah.
But the cult leadership finds out about Donna, and they completely lose their minds. They demand he return to the compound, and they force him to dump her.
And as punishment for his transgression, for seeking love outside the group, they enforce this brutal physical degradation.
This was so sad.
They make the world's most famous, highly paid male model shave his head completely bald, force him to quit the modeling industry entirely, and confine him to the compound doing menial manual labor.
They took everything from him.
They systematically stripped away his financial power, his public identity, and the physical beauty that made him valuable in the first place.
It was designed to break his spirit completely. But, ironically, hitting that absolute rock bottom was the catalyst he needed to finally wake up. In 1999, the exact year the world was supposedly scheduled to end, Hoyt finally mounts an escape.
The irony of 1999.
And the logistics of how he gets out form the most surreal 90s pop culture Mad Libs sentence ever constructed by human language.
I still can't believe this part is real.
He escapes the doomsday compound with the active help of Fabio. Literally, the romance novel cover model. I can't believe it's not Butter Fabio.
We're one and only.
I need an entirely separate feature-length action movie just about Fabio orchestrating a cult extraction in the dead of night.
It sounds like a sketch comedy.
Fabio swoops in, uses his resources to help Hoyt get out, and Hoyt finally goes back to his real family to care for his dying mother. It is a deeply tragic story of lost time, but the relief you feel when he finally gets out is immense.
It is a massive relief. And watching the modern reaction to this documentary online has been a fascinating sociological journey in itself. Because the story is so inherently bizarre, people almost don't know how to process it through a modern lens.
They really don't.
I was reading through a Reddit thread discussing the series, and a user named NegativeVisual6420 captured the prevailing sentiment perfectly.
Oh my God, yes, I saw that comment. Please read exactly what they said, because I was crying laughing at the accuracy.
This user openly admitted they had taken some edibles, sat down on their couch to watch the doc, and genuinely, sincerely thought it was an AI-generated parody of a true crime show.
That is hilarious.
They wrote, "Is it just me or does it feel sarcastic?" And like they stitched it together with the AI, it just feels like something made up. A bunch of upper-middle-class boat shoes-wearing Aryan jock models who fall for a man who is vocally way more woo-woo than his followers.
The accuracy of that read, boat shoes wearing Aryan models. It is so deeply, profoundly ironic.
That's the shady, analytical observation that cuts right to the absolute core of the absurdity. The user pointed out the sheer poetic irony of this very specific demographic, preppy, hypermasculine, incredibly privileged, conventionally attractive jock models falling completely and totally under the spell of this, quote, Stevie Nicks type gay man.
That's just a wild contrast.
It feels like a satirical script written to mock the extreme vanity and vacuousness of the modeling industry.
It really does. It feels like a Ryan Murphy limited series where everyone is a caricature. But we have to remember, despite the absurdity, it is real trauma.
Very real.
Real millions of dollars were stolen, real families were destroyed, and real lives were derailed for decades. Which brings us perfectly into our breakdown segments. Let's unpack the chaos.
Let's do it. Segment 1. Biggest red flag of the episode. The task here is to identify the single most alarming moment, tactic, or element of the documentary, discuss why it stood out above the rest, and debate whether we genuinely believe we would have noticed it if we were in that situation in real life.
Okay, I have my nomination locked and loaded, and I feel very strongly about this.
Let's hear it.
Handing over millions of dollars to sleep on a floor futon. I am sorry, but the fundamental math is simply not mathing for me. If I am making Versace money, if I am literally the highest paid person in my field, I am buying a California King Tempur-Pedic mattress.
As you should.
I am buying a brownstone in the West Village. The absolute second a man in a pink shirt tells me that achieving spiritual enlightenment requires me to sleep on the hardwood floor while he sleeps in a luxury master suite down the hall, I am calling a cab and I am leaving. That is the biggest red flag. The severe financial exploitation paired directly with enforced physical discomfort.
See, I completely understand why you chose that, but I have to disagree.
Oh, really? What's your pick?
I think the financial exploitation and the floor mats are the result of the real red flag. By the time they are sleeping on the floor, the trap is already closed.
Okay, valid.
My nomination for the biggest red flag is the 90-minute life readings. Specifically, the use of astrology to mentally and emotionally destroy a person's self-esteem.
Those readings were rough.
That is the initial weaponization of vulnerability. When someone sits you down in a room, unprompted, and spends an hour and a half methodically listing every single thing that is wrong with your personality, but presents it as the objective truth written in the stars, that is the moment the psychological subjugation begins.
You used it to tear them down.
That is the red flag that precedes the financial ruin.
Okay, I hear your point. It's the psychological manipulation that allows the physical manipulation. But let's be real here. Would you have actually noticed the 90-minute reading was a red flag while it was happening? Because people pay hundreds of dollars for intensive astrology readings right now. It's incredibly normalized.
I would like to confidently think that my analytical, science-based mind would immediately reject the premise.
Sure you would.
I would sit there and ask to see the empirical data correlating planetary alignment at my time of birth with my current character flaws. I would demand peer-reviewed evidence. But you... Honestly, I think you might have sat through the entire 90 minutes and asked for a follow-up session.
I absolutely would not have. I would have recognized it as an attack immediately. I have strong emotional boundaries.
Do you really? Because need I shadily remind you of the time, not 3 months ago, that you bought a $300 piece of raw Moldavite crystal online? Because a 19-year-old TikTok astrologer confidently told you it would, quote, clear your energetic blockages and manifest abundance.
Listen. First of all, lower your voice. We do not need to bring the Moldavite incident into this public forum.
You literally texted me that you felt a profound vibrational shift when you held it in your hand. The only measurable shift was the sudden drop in your checking account balance.
Okay, wow. The shade is real, and it is targeted. I was in a vulnerable place. The algorithm knew I was having a highly stressful clinical week, and the crystal was very aesthetically pleasing. But fine, point taken. Maybe I am a little susceptible to a very confident, well-lit crystal pitch.
Just a little.
Moving swiftly on before my entire life is read to filth. Segment 2. Main Character Delusion Award.
The task. Choose the person in this documentary who seems the most wildly convinced of their own central importance to the universe, present the supporting evidence, and defend the choice.
I mean, the incredibly obvious choice here is Frederick von Mierers.
Without a doubt.
The man looked at his followers and claimed, with a straight face, to be an ancient alien from the star Arcturus, sent specifically to save humanity from an impending global pole shift, all while demanding they fetch him escorts from Times Square. If that is not peak main character delusion, I truly don't know what is. He literally positioned himself as the savior of the human race.
It is the obvious choice. It's too obvious. I am going to pivot entirely, and I am going to throw massive, controversial shade at the models themselves.
Oh, a plot twist. Okay, I need you to defend this. because blaming the victims is a hot take.
Hear me out. Think about the sheer, unadulterated vanity required to be susceptible to this specific apocalyptic pitch.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine being so universally praised for your beauty, so incredibly vain, and so deeply used to being the center of attention in every room you enter, that when a strange man walks up to you and says, "Your specific bone structure, your symmetrical face, and your tanning habits mean you are an elite alien sent here to survive the end of the world."
You don't question it.
You don't laugh in his face, you don't think he's crazy, you just nod your head and go, "Yeah, honestly." That tracks. It makes complete sense to me that my jawline has profound cosmic significance and that UFOs are coming to rescue me specifically.
Oh my God, I never thought about it like that. My cheekbones are saving the world.
Yes. The delusion required to believe that the literal apocalypse is going to have a VIP section, a velvet rope, and you are on the guest list simply because you look incredible in a European swimsuit.
It's peak narcissism.
Frederick's delusion was highly calculated manipulation. The model's delusion was pure, unexamined, unchecked narcissism masquerading as a spiritual awakening.
Wait, I have to stop you there and push back on this because I think that's slightly unfair. You can't entirely blame a 16-year-old kid like Hoyt for believing he's special when the entire adult world, the photographers, the agents, the designers, are already treating him like a god because of his face.
That is true.
He was groomed by the industry to believe his physical form was the most important thing on earth. Frederick just repackaged that industry-standard narcissism into a religion.
That is a very valid counterpoint. The industry primed them for the cult. They were already living in a distorted reality where their beauty dictated their worth, so Frederick's pitch just felt like a natural extension of their daily lives. But the sheer lack of critical thinking still astounds me.
It's a perfect storm of vulnerability and vanity. Okay, segment 3. How fast are we leaving? I'm going to present us with 3 specific scenarios straight from the documentary, and we have to definitively decide our reaction. Leaving immediately, staying 1 week, or accidentally staying 6 months.
I am ready. Hit me with the scenarios.
Scenario 1. You are brought into the inner circle. You are told you absolutely cannot have sex, you cannot feel romantic love for anyone, and you have to eat a diet consisting entirely of raw fruit. Boo-UT. The trade-off is you get nightly VIP access to Studio 54, and you are casually hanging out with Andy Warhol, Grace Jones, and the biggest celebrities in the world.
Oh, this is a complex negotiation.
I'm staying a week. I am absolutely, without hesitation, staying a week.
Really?
Yes. I desperately want to see the inside of Studio 54 at its absolute peak. I want to see the fashion, the drama, the excess. I can eat nothing but cantaloupe and grapes for 7 days. I've done far worse, far more restrictive fad diets just to fit into a bridesmaid dress.
I completely agree. Staying a week is the correct play. The sociological and historical observation alone would be worth the severe caloric deficit of the fruit diet.
It's a networking event.
I would just treat the entire experience like a highly restrictive, networking-focused corporate retreat. But by day 8, when the severe protein hunger sets in, my brain fog is unmanageable, and I realize I am contractually forbidden from flirting with the bartender. I'm calling a cab, and I am out.
Exactly. Get in, see the celebrity drama, get out before the scurvy sets in.
Yeah.
Scenario 2. You are abruptly pulled into a slamming session in the middle of the living room where 20 of your peers and an alien guru surround you and scream horrific insults at you for an hour.
Leaving immediately.
Absolutely.
The absolute millisecond someone aggressively raises their voice at me in a circle, the social contract is broken, and the simulation is over. I do not care if you claim to be from Arcturus, Albuquerque, or Atlantis. You are not yelling at me while I sit on a hardwood floor.
Not a chance.
I would physically fight my way to the elevator.
Leaving immediately. I would start aggressively crying to make everyone uncomfortable, and then I would lock myself in the bathroom and call the police. I cannot even handle mild constructive criticism on a performance review, let alone organized, volume level 10 group screaming. Not happening.
It's a hard pass.
Okay. Scenario 3. You are assigned to do a local public access television show where your only job is to sit around a studio looking incredibly hot in peak 80s fashion, staring into a camera and talking vaguely about mindfulness and energy.
Accidentally staying 6 months.
Accidentally saying 6 months. Because let's be honest, the aesthetic was kind of serving. Imagine the sheer volume of the hair. The aggressive shoulder pads, the soft focus lighting, the lip gloss.
It's very glamorous.
We would be on there giving the most vacuous, meaningless advice ever broadcast. Just breathe in the cosmic energy, and your earthly problems will simply fade away. much like the ozone layer.
We would absolutely 100% get caught up in the minor, highly localized fame of it all. We'd be getting recognized at the corner bodega. Excuse me, are you the dental professionals from the 3 a.m. mindfulness hour?
Yes, we are.
It would feed our egos just enough to keep us happily anchored there until the Times Square gigolo demands started.
It is a known fact that we are tragically weak for good studio lighting. Which brings us to our final, most introspective segment. Segment 4. Cult proof or cult snack.
My favorite segment.
The task here. Debate whether specific personality traits make people harder or easier to manipulate. And then we have to apply that diagnostic directly to ourselves. Brutal, unflinching honesty is required.
We touched on the mechanics of this earlier, but it really comes down to what fundamental void you are trying to fill. If you are deeply rooted in your own internal identity, if you have a strong external support system, you are significantly harder to manipulate.
You have a foundation.
But if your identity is tied to something fragile and fleeting, like your physical appearance, your youth, or your proximity to fame, you are a massive, glowing target. Extreme vanity and the desperate modern desire for wellness make you incredibly vulnerable because you're constantly looking for an external authority figure to give you the next quick fix to maintain that illusion of perfection.
It's so true. The pipeline from mainstream wellness culture to high-control cults is a very real, very documented phenomenon.
It really is.
It literally starts with buying an overpriced green juice to detox. And it ends 10 years later in an armed compound in North Carolina hoarding silver bars because the aliens are coming.
A slippery slope.
So let's put the mirror up. Let's be brutally honest. Are you cult-proof or are you a cult snack?
I firmly, genuinely believe I am cult-proof. And I do not say that out of arrogance. I say that because our specific background in the dental and medical sciences has rigorously trained us to demand empirical evidence.
Science rules everything.
I am inherently deeply skeptical of pseudoscience, charismatic leaders, and anyone offering a singular, miraculous cure-all for complex human problems. If you tell me a polished gemstone is going to heal my childhood trauma or fix my immune system, my brain immediately, involuntarily demands to know the exact biological mechanism of action.
It's just how your brain works.
You cannot logic someone out of a cult once they're in, but a strong foundation in logic can absolutely prevent you from entering one in the first place.
See, I hear your logic and I respect your scientific boundaries, but I also know myself deeply. I am a cult snack. I am a full, family-sized Costco bulk bag of cult snacks.
At least you possess the self-awareness to admit it.
I am extremely self-aware because, listen, if a charismatic leader came up to me, maybe not a bronzed man in a pink shirt, I have some standards, but like a really chic, minimalist woman in a beige linen matching set.
Oh, the linen set gets you every time.
And she looked at me with kind eyes and promised me perfect glowing skin, absolutely zero daily stress, and a built-in community of besties who just want to drink organic matcha and align their chakras in a beautifully decorated room.
You're gone.
I am getting in the beige van. I am signing whatever paperwork she puts in front of me. Take my credit card, just tell me what to do, what to wear, and what to eat so I never have to make another exhausting adult decision ever again.
The desperate desire to surrender control. That is the ultimate inescapable hook.
It really is.
It is profoundly exhausting being a functioning adult, making constant decisions, paying bills, navigating relationships, scheduling dental appointments. A cult looks at that exhaustion and says, give us your autonomy, stop thinking for yourself, and we will give you absolute peace. It is a dark, twisted, incredibly tempting bargain.
It really, truly is. This documentary was a wild, exhausting ride. It is a masterclass in the mechanics of manipulation. But underneath the 80s glamour and the alien absurdity, it is a deeply tragic look at how much of themselves people are willing to sacrifice just to feel like they belong to something important.
And a very stark, practical reminder that if a man on a beach tells you he is an ancient alien from the star Arcturus, you should probably ask to see his earthly driver's license before handing over your bank routing number.
Period. Verify the ID. Thank you so much to the Snark Squad for hanging out with us for this incredibly chaotic midweek spiral. We needed this conversation. We needed to process this absurdity, and we love you for being here with us through every tangent.
Truly, you all are the only community we will ever need. No floor mats, no fruit diets, and no public access television shows required.
Exactly. But now we are officially turning the conversation over to you, the Snark Squad. Hop into the comments section, slide into our DMs. We want to hear your unfiltered thoughts on everything we discussed today. First, Are you as deeply obsessed with cult documentaries as we are? Or is it just our broken brains?
Let us know.
What is the wildest, most unhinged documentary you have ever watched? We are desperately seeking recommendations for our next spiral.
We also need your professional, highly unscientific theories. Do you think a secret dental cult genuinely exists somewhere out there right now? And if so, what brand of holistic toothpaste are they forcing their members to use?
And finally, because we desperately need the validation that we are not alone in the absolute trenches of modern romance, what is the weirdest, most baffling dating app message you have ever personally received? Please, I am begging you, tell us we are not the only ones being asked to co-sign watercraft loans by men holding average-sized fish.
Please, we need to establish the current baseline of human audacity.
You know the drill by now. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a moment of the spiral. And do us a massive personal favor. Take this specific recording, copy the link, and share it directly with your messiest bestie.
The one who needs an intervention.
The one who, deep down, would absolutely join a highly restrictive cult just for the VIP access to Studio 54. They need to hear this warning.
Keep sending us those amazing show recommendations. Matt, you set the bar incredibly high for the community today.
He really did. All right, everyone, we love you so much. Have the absolute best week. Stay out of the DMs of men with jet skis, and keep your critical thinking skills sharp.
As always, stay curious.
Stay skeptical.
And we will see you on the Snark side.